Hey, how's it going? My name is Adam Woods, and today I want to talk about drum editing. This is by no means an in-depth guide to drum editing, but more of a general overview to help musicians and people who are not familiar with the process at all understand what goes on behind the scenes. Most drummers I work with aren't present when I'm editing their drums, and I think a lot of musicians could really benefit from understanding the process and knowing how their performance affects that process in the end product. So let's talk about the reasons you might want to edit drums. The first and most obvious is to fix a subpar performance. If a drummer's having difficulty keeping on time, drum editing can really salvage a performance and make it usable for a final track. The next reason has to do with the aesthetics of the production. An extreme metal track might have very tightly edited drums, every hit exactly on the grid, while a loose rock track might just have some basic scooting left and right to get the groove on point. There's no right or wrong answer here, it's all about serving the song with the drum editing. Alright, so let's get into the actual techniques. So there are three main steps that I go through when I'm editing drums: time manipulation, replacing hits, and gating. Let's start with time manipulation. Time manipulation is going to be the biggest change to the drums. This could go as far as completely fixing the groove of a part, or just putting a few hits on time. So let me show you what that process looks like. In front of me I have some drums that are completely unedited. There's a little bit of mixing going on, but besides that they haven't been moved in time and none of the hits have been sample replaced or anything like that. So you'll see here, these are our kick drums, our snares, tom tracks, overhead and cymbal close mics, and our room mics. All of these tracks have been grouped together, so if I move one, the others will move with it. So first let's listen to how these drums sound against the click track, completely unedited. As you can hear, these are really well played drums. The hits are very consistent and the timing is pretty good already. You can see that zoomed out this far, most of the hits look like they're already perfectly on the grid. As we zoom in, we'll start to see that those hits are just a little bit ahead or behind, so what we can do is just go through and massage everything to make it a little bit tighter. For this example, I'm going to put every hit on the grid. This should demonstrate how even a really good drum take like this can be tightened through editing. So let's start with this first kick hit. You can see right here is the downbeat of this measure 26 up here. But this kick drum hits a little bit before that. So what we'll do is cut that kick drum away from the other hits and scoot it into place. This is the same idea behind all of the time editing that we're going to do. Cut it away from the other clips, scoot it into place. We'll continue this process for all the hits, cutting and putting them right onto the grid. As you can see, most of these moves are going to be very small and won't make a big impact alone, but as a whole, this will start to feel like a much tighter performance when everything is hitting exactly on the grid. Especially when we move forward with this production and put guitars and bass and maybe percussion over it, it's going to help that these drums are very tight when we layer up other instruments on top of it. As you can see, this is a pretty tedious process, and especially when you get into long songs or songs with lots of hits, this can get pretty grueling. There are ways to automate some of this, but I prefer to do it by hand because even with the automated ways like Pro Tools Beat Detective or Dynamic Split and Reaper, you still have to go back by hand and double check everything. If I go through this way by hand, I know that every hit is exactly where I want it right off the bat. Alright, and here we are. These drums have been put onto the grid as close as I can get them. Let's listen through again to the dry take, and then I'll play the edited take for you. Alright, and here's the edited drums. As you can hear, the edited performance is just tighter to the click than the unedited. Alright, the next step in drum editing is to replace weak hits. Now you may have heard that there's one snare hit right here at the end, the red hit, that's a little bit weaker than the other snare hits in that section. Now, we could have just done another take of this and gotten a better snare hit, but that takes a lot of time, and we'd be risking losing this take that's otherwise really good. So what I'll do in this scenario is take this hit and replace it with a hit from somewhere else in that section. Luckily, this part repeats with the snare and hi-hat hitting together over and over, so I can just take this hit right here, copy it, remove the bad hit, and put the good hit in from earlier. Then I'll tighten up the transitions between those clips, and there we go, a snare drum that's replaced. The last process I'll do when editing drums is gating. Basically, this is the process of cutting out the noise between the hits on these drums. As you can hear, the snare drum is picking up other elements of the drum kit in the background. A little bit of the cymbals and the kick drum. This is where gates come in. This makes it so that the snare mic is only playing audio when the snare drum is being hit. And this happens to the kick and the toms as well. And this just cleans up the whole drum recording before I start mixing. As you can hear, most of that bleed is completely gone. Alright, and those are the main steps to editing drums. Again, this is by no means an in-depth course on how to edit drums, just a basic overview so that you can understand what happens during the drum editing process. Thank you for checking out this video. If you haven't already, go check out the production breakdown videos that I've already posted. These videos go into a lot of detail about several aspects of production, and there's a lot of great information in there. If you have any questions or comments about drum editing, leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer as many as I can. You can also subscribe to the channel to be notified the next time I put out a video. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.